Oh, we're not, but I guess. Chris even got changed just for this moment.
Sorry.
Whatever, Chris.
Send it in an email next time.
Just walk out. Just keep walking.
Ben, is your goal to make them as uncomfortable as possible?
No, I told him to sit there. When he was joking about it, I said, you should sit there.
Ben is the judge. All right,
All right.
What's the criteria? I don't know either. He's gonna whisper when I am saying something wrong.
Ends by 1.
I'll make sure that happens. All right, I'll shut up.
Subliminal advertising.
All right, do it today?
Yep.
Well,
Double trouble.
when
Twice
one
the
person
fun.
doesn't have enough time to do it all, we split ourselves up.
Press the red button.
Yeah, the bottom one, that one.
All right.
I remember that.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this double weather briefing. Bill and Marissa. Should we double the fun?
Oh, yeah.
Take it away.
Thank you, Andy, and thanks for coming. So, let's see if we can just click ahead here. Yay! All right, so the agenda today will be pretty straightforward, I think. Just a little bit of climatology, what we've experienced so far in 2017 in State College, since I have fun with that data. It's part of my job. Fall so far, it's been changeable, but mainly warm. We'll go to, everybody wants to know how much snow there's going to be, so I have a really crappy analog I'm going to show you to give you my guess at how much snow may fall. Then we'll switch over to Marissa taking the lead, shorter range forecast. Talk about the weekend here at State College and in Columbus for the heck of it.
Sure.
Hopefully they're going to be wet and pressed in Ohio. That'll be good. And then will State College see its first flakes of snow in the next 5 days? Well, 58.5% of the time, October has some snow in it. So the odds are, you go by that slightly in our favor. So we'll see about that. Okay. So, as has been the case for quite a while now, we've been running warm, quite a few years, and especially at night here in State College. Anybody want to throw out some ideas why our nighttime departures from average are higher than our daytime? What do you think? Anybody? Primarily, oh, go ahead, Nicholas. Okay, well, what would that do to the daytime in theory? Okay, and could keep the night warmer. Okay, so that's a possibility. Good. Anybody else? Are you saying something, Sean? Not that your mouth is full.
I was saying the same thing as Nick.
Okay. You could. Oh, yes.
Still a lot of heat in the ground from the sun during the day.
Okay, but that probably was true in 1950 as well as today too. Yeah, or urban heat island, growing city, who knows? And you tend to see bigger effects at night. That kind of. All right, October certainly is a warm one, and we'll look at just how warm in a second. I'm going to take you to the world's most exciting website. You'll just be amazed. So let's look. Let's go now. If this works, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, quite frankly. All I'm doing is trying to go to a website. So, we'll see what comes up. And, it's trying. It's going to Internet Explorer. Because Internet Explorer is the best, right? It looks like it. Okay. Oh, it's coming. Oh. Go away. Ask me later. Thanks. So here it is. Okay, the Joel and Myers Weather Center webpage. How many have seen this page before? Woohoo! Really? Well, thank you, John. It's just, it's very simple, and I can criticize it as much as I want because I kind of set it up. So let's look at latest data from State College, and let's just do year to date. Okay, So this will populate down here with averages up top, which is real easy to read, I'm sure, especially with these glasses on. Reds are warmer than average, and greens are wetter than average. So what you see is a lot of red and a little bit of green. Start with temperatures. Year to date, our average highs are running about 1.2 degrees above the long-term record. Period of records 1893 to 2017 in this case. The lows are about 4 degrees above the long-term average. Okay, with a mean then in the middle of that, about 2.6. Okay, undergrads, I have a couple statistics on here. I have the period of record, and then I have 10-year, 30-year, and 30-year normals. What's the difference between a 30-year average and a 30-year normal? Anybody? What do you understand the word normal to mean? What's the normal? When people say relative to normal, our high temperature was, 10 degrees higher than that. Right? What's normal? What's that describe? Anybody named Bueller in here? It's a period of average. What's the period? How many years? 30. It's 30. So then why do I have a 30-year normal and a 30-year average? What's the difference? When do they update normals? No, that's not correct. They should be a cricket in German. All right. Every 10 years. Okay. Start of a decade. So we use the same normals for 10 years. Right. 30-year period. But we'll get our next set of normals when the year 2020 ends. Okay. So, and there's probably a little more data massaging to normals too.
So you're saying then the 30-year average is?
30-year average is the past 30 years, up through 2016. Okay. 30-year normals up through 2010. So when you're comparing, you want apples to apples, that's fine. To date, we should have about 33 inches of liquid equivalent. We've had 35.5. So we're running just slightly above average that way. Okay, go back to the main page and look at the month to date. How do you think October's been? How far above average? Anybody? 7 degrees. 8, 5, 2. About 6.5. Okay. Again, the average high is about 5.5 above average. In this case, the average low is 7.2. So again, the lows are beating the highs, and that's been the trend for a long time. So October, very warm. What do you remember about September?
Cold. Started cool, then warm.
Yeah, it ended up just close to average, a little above average, believe it or not. But it was very cold in the beginning.
Hey, Bo, we don't have units.
Units? Sure we do. Average, oh. Yeah. It's Fahrenheit, all right? It's America. What do you think it is? Of course it's Fahrenheit. Okay. Point taken, though. So yeah, we had a warm September and cold start, and then October's been warm. So there comes the analog. Okay, what kind of winter might we have, or what kind of snowfall might we have? If we look back at State College data and try to find an analog to it. So now we're going to hope that this works. Okay, so how much snow should we expect? So what I did is I just looked at State College temperature data, really rough too. I mean, this is really rough. This is not scientific. You write a paper like this, you might as well throw me out of my job. So I look back to 1893, SCASIS. I look for a September snap from cold to warm near the middle of the month. And if there was a warm October, then I said there was a strong analog. That's all I looked at. So how could you make that a better analog? Anybody? What could you do to, that's not looking at a lot. It's looking at a point and it's looking at temperatures. Okay, oh, look at this. Ethan, you first.
Look at sea surface temperature anomalies.
Ooh, okay. All right.
I
Paul?
was going to suggest looking at El Nino or La Nina.
Yeah.
Okay, so a larger area, first of all, would be good. All right. Anything else? What if we just only had State College data? How about precipitation trends or what? Okay. Well, what could happen if you look at too fine a scale data? What's the drawback to that? If I want to look at, okay, so September was drier than average, October is wetter than average. Let's put that into the mix. What eventually would happen? Do you have many analogs? No, if you make it too exacting, you're not going to have any analogs. In this case, I only found 5. If we had thousands of years of data, that'd be a different story, but we only have 120 some odd. So, all right, 1994, that was a weak comparison. September kind of snapped, but not too roughly. In October, it was actually a little cooler than average. So that's pretty weak. So I weighted that half as strongly as the moderate years, 86 and 70. You see the snowfall for each of those winters that follow. And then the strong correlations were 46 and 1920. Right? So I doubled their value to get a prediction of 43.4 inches of snow, which is 2 inches off the long-term mean. So, for what that's worth, okay? Arbitrary weighting function and a poor analog. This is what you get, an average forecast. That's probably not a bad forecast.
I just picked 1970 and leave it at that.
I'd like to pick 1992, 3 or something like that, but yeah. So honestly, I don't know. When Paul Knight comes in, though, if you are interested in this kind of stuff, come, because that's his job. Predicts longer range forecasts. Okay, so Marisa now is going to. Great. Well, I'll do one thing, and then Marissa's going to talk about the upcoming weather. Okay, so let's go here, and the upcoming weather will be governed by this stuff here, okay? You can see this strong front went through this area a while ago, and look at the Gulf of Mexico. What do these clouds down here represent? What did they tell you about the state of the atmosphere?
Unsettled.
Stable? Unsettled? I've got a difference of opinion. It looks like it's cumuliform, right? It's patchy, so that's a sign of instability. What would cause that instability over the Gulf of Mexico? Okay, the ocean's warm. So what do you think the air temperature is relative to the water temperature?
Oh, that's much cooler.
Okay, and if you think about it, this is a cold front that went through. So cold air over warm water, bit of instability. That cold air, though, is also dry. So when we're talking about the next system that's coming from the northwest, right now there's not a lot of moisture for it to work with. So that's going to be one issue to think about. And that's all I have to say about that for now.
I'm sure you don't want to keep going.
Nope, I'd like Marissa.
So my apologies. I taught 2 different classes this morning, so I have just perused the weather. So if you guys have anything you want to jump in and say, please be my guest. I'm not really going to focus much on the next 36 hours because it's going to be pretty boring. It's actually going to be very, very nice. But then things get interesting over the weekend, and it looks like our days of having temperatures well above average, I think that's not going to be go away. I don't know. I think at least in the next week or so, we can say with a pretty good guarantee that's not going to be the case for us. So what's happening right now at the surface, we've got an area of low pressure here in the western Great Lakes. We've got some snow falling in parts of eastern North Dakota. Ben and I this morning were having a little fun looking at surface obs in central North Dakota. It's not snowing there now, but this station here this morning was reporting a temperature of 34, winds of 30 knots, gusting to 51, and it had a symbol I've never seen before. It was 2 dots and then a line between them. So when we looked that up, it was unknown precipitation. It was actually showing UP+. So it was heavy unknown precipitation. So it looked like a pretty miserable morning in that part of the world. That was a fun find this morning.
What do you think that precipitation type was then? Mixed? Yeah, I mean, ASOSs don't do well
Yeah.
with mixed or sleet.
But 34 degrees and any type of precipitation with 51 mile per hour or 51 knot gusts are that's just not pleasant, no matter what. That would be a pretty cruddy morning. But that was our fun find of the day. Speaking of cruddy, it's not all that nice out right now across Pennsylvania. We have, I guess, south central Pennsylvania or southwest Pennsylvania is doing well. We still have this crudiness that's hanging over us. We may see some peaks of sun this afternoon. Average high right now, does anybody know what the average high is?
56, 57.
58, 59 degrees. So we're actually right now pretty much below average, because I think last I looked we were at 45, so pretty chilly, which is something we're not used to, so I think that's why it really feels like a biting cold today. But tomorrow, look to our west, things clear out. I think tomorrow is going to be a pretty decent day. I will not recommend skipping classes because I don't believe in that, but if you have time in between classes to go outside and enjoy the sunshine, I highly recommend it, because tomorrow's high should be a few degrees above average. It'll be nice, and then things really take a turn for the worse this weekend. If you have any plans to do anything outside, I highly recommend it for Saturday morning, because things will get yucky Saturday afternoon, evening, depending on which model you are looking at. So first we'll take a look at the NAM, and then we'll look at the GFS, and we'll see the differences on the timing there. What I want you to keep an eye on is this trough that's now digging into what we just were looking at in the northern plains. This starts to move into the western Great Lakes, and it strengthens, and once it gets closer to Pennsylvania, it's hard to get too far here in the NAM. It only takes us to Sunday night. What happens here that you notice with this trough? I'm not sure what class you learned this in. I'm assuming it's synoptic. What happens to that trough?
Trough becomes negatively tilted.
Yes, so you see how it starts taking on, the axis of this trough is going more in this direction. What does that mean when you have a negatively tilted trough?
That favors positive vorticity advection and warm air advection, and that leads to height rises out ahead of the main storm system, and that allows the storm system to intensify.
Yeah, we're gonna get there's gonna be a pretty decent coastal low that develops here, right along, first along the Delmarva, and then it's going to move up into New England. So this is gonna be a pretty decent storm. There's also going to be an associated cold front with it, and that's what we're going to be dealing with, is the precipitation from that, and then the cold and the wind from that. And the timing will be interesting, not only for us, but for those of you who are interested in a little event that's happening in Columbus on Saturday afternoon. Good answer, by the way, Paul. Very
Thank you.
impressed by that. It's just unfortunate that it's October and not later in the winter, because this could be. Have anybody in here that's really into winter weather? Yeah, okay, so there are snow junkies in here. Good, I like
This is
that.
a pattern you kind of like.
Yeah, and we're gonna just keep a US view here. The GFS has a similar thing happening here. We can go farther out in the future. So here's your 0Z on Sunday, and you can see it negatively tilted there. You can see the low is in a different location. It's a little bit farther offshore. It's a little bit, I think, a little bit farther north there, just a teensy little bit. And then boom, it goes into southern New England and then into northern New England. So a decent storm for New England. Some places will get some very heavy rain. There could be some localized areas with some flooding potential. And that could even be the case for parts of eastern Pennsylvania, depending on how far offshore this low is. But let's take a look now at the high-res NAM, a little closer up. And coming into tomorrow, it's going to be a nice day here. Breezes will pick up out of the south. No precipitation. It's going to be, again, I think, high temperatures a few degrees above average. So take advantage if you can tomorrow afternoon. Because then Saturday, and this is where the timing is different on these models, and the Euro is also different on the timing. This front marches eastward, so here is 15Z, starting to see some rain move into extreme northwestern and western Pennsylvania. We stay dry here, according to the NAM, until just before 8 o'clock. So then the NAM brings us some very heavy rain Saturday night into Sunday morning. And we also see that wind shift coming through with then the colder air behind it. So here's Sunday afternoon. Looks like the NAM has the rain winding down mid to late afternoon here. The heaviest rain mid-afternoon, but not a pleasant day when you look at the temperature change. But if this goes out to Sunday night, you can see some of these rainfall amounts are pretty darn high there. We've got over 2 inches in parts of north central Pennsylvania into the southern tier of New York, and then New Jersey we have some 3 inch plus. So this is going to be a very wet system as it progresses eastward. The difference in the GFS with this, again, tomorrow, decent day. Is anybody in here traveling to Columbus this weekend? Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. You can't really see Columbus on here, but looks like it's raining there in the morning. The GFS is a little bit more aggressive on the timing as far as bringing it in to here earlier. It has us by 21Z already getting a decent little bit of precipitation there. So, well, yeah, of course you can. Jump in whenever you want.
So the suggestion is that the tailgates are damp and cool in Columbus. People won't get as revved up. So it may, if it could stay cool and rainy, won't be as loud in the stadium. That could be good for us.
You football people have these.
Oh, yeah, she does not talk football. Also, notice the intensity of the precipitation as it moves eastward. You know, there wasn't a lot of moisture over the U.S. It's waiting for the dynamics, getting Atlantic moisture in that tropical system that may affect Florida, the thing down off of Nicaragua that's going to gradually could end up getting some of that moisture in eastern Pennsylvania later on. So this thing's really developing.
Yeah, it's not fully, it's strengthening as it moves over central Pennsylvania, but as it goes, it really ramps up as this thing moves farther east. And it looks like by late in the day Sunday, the heaviest precipitation is already in western New England, but it still shows us on the borderline of some showery crud. What it also shows is that the 0 degree 850 temperature is below zero for us at the tail end of this, which could mean potential in north central Pennsylvania here to have some of this residual precipitation. Could be cold enough to, I think, be a mix or some wet flakes. I also said to Bill, possibly maybe some graupel here. But if you look at the totals in the GFS, you can see, what is that, 1.5 inches in northwestern Pennsylvania. It has the higher numbers much farther to the east. And again, that makes sense because this one had the low not as close to the coast, it had it a little farther off. One thing Bill and I also looked at, current sea surface temperatures along Lake Erie, 62 degrees right now, which translates to about 16.5, 17 degrees Celsius. So the likelihood of any lake effect, I think, is very small in with this system, but the lakes are still warm. So once we can get a really cold blast, the lakes right now are primed for some good lake effect. We just need the rest of the atmosphere to cooperate with that. And one fun thing you can do is on Tropical Tidbits, this is the GFS. This is for, let's see, let's go out to 60. So we were talking about how this line is coming through. You've got the heavy rain out to the east. So this is 12Z Sunday morning. You want to take a look at the skew T for us. You just click on that point.
I think Paul has done prior to.
Yeah, so you guys have all seen what a skew T is before. It gives you the vertical profile. So this has us in the morning still well above freezing. So we're at 39 Fahrenheit. So that's not very exciting. You go ahead, that was 72. Go to 84. Go up to 84 hours, which will be Sunday night. Ooh, that's even warmer, 42. So I think it's going to be tough for us to see too much based on this model. I did notice that you can see in parts of West Virginia, there's a blue shading. That gives you the frozen precipitation. That's actually below freezing. So they have a higher elevation, I think greater chance of seeing that. What other important event is taking place next week? Halloween is on Tuesday. How many of you work on things for Campus Weather Service here? Okay. Are any of you forecasting on Monday or Tuesday? Okay. If you are, just so you know, many parts of the country, they do not do this. Here in central Pennsylvania, we have designated trick-or-treat times. So trick-or-treaters will be out from 6 to 8 here in the center region. I think Bellefonte may be a little bit different. In one of the towns, I think it's Monday night. They do something weird. But around here, it's 6 to 8. So if any of you live in rent a house and you need to give out candy, keep that in mind. The beautiful thing is when you're the one giving out candy, you know that at 8 o'clock they're done. But if we look out, so this low winds up, it moves out, but in its wake, it stays pretty chilly. So it looks like Halloween is going to be a dry day, but it's going to be a chilly one. So anybody that has any costumes that need that you don't want to cover up, it's going to be tough because it's going to be pretty chilly out there. But I think people wear appropriate costumes. Don't need to cover up or need to cover up. Don't need to. What do you want to say?
Show the tropical tidbits GFS again.
Sure.
So it looks like with this system, not for October standards, it's not very cold. It's going to be very hard to snow due to overrunning, where you can get the heavy snow. Only place that seems possible, and we looked at this pretty closely, high elevations of southwestern Pennsylvania. If this storm can hug the coast a little bit, enough cold air may get into accumulating snow, Somerset, that kind of area. If it snows here, very end of the steady precipitation or some spits of graupel or snow, the next day or so as the cold air bleeds in over the face. So I don't think we're getting white in the ground.
No, but for the snow geese, at least this is a change of pace. We're finally getting out of this boring ridge that we've been stuck in for the last month and a half, and we're starting to see at least a little bit of excitement. I don't know. For me, I'm enjoying the fall weather. I like the feel of this. It finally feels like we're ready to carve a pumpkin instead of going to the pumpkin patch in flip-flops.
Good football weather.
Great football weather. Even better to watch from inside.
Yeah.
I'm kind of happy the game's away this week now because this is nice viewing weather. But you know what? The rain on Sunday makes for great study weather. So do your homework on Sunday because you have no reason to be running around outside. Really good day to just, open those books and hit them hard. Is there anything you guys want to see that we didn't show? I feel bad. We kind of just threw this together because Andy didn't have anyone and we said we'd do it, but we were both teaching and running around like crazy. So questions, comments, anything you want? Oh, yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on the maximum wind potential associated with this storm?
You don't mean here, right?
Right, I'm talking about like, say, New York City.
Not a lot here.
Fortunately, we don't get very windy here. It's always.
Because there are some maps floating around on social media about the Euro max wind gust that looked
Oh, wasn't that exciting?
fairly ominous. So
I haven't been on social media today, so this is the things you miss when you don't go on. Do you know where can we find that on here?
The what wind?
Yeah,
It's one of the.
but the Euro one, can I?
I doubt you'll get Euro wind on tropical tidbits.
I mean, if New York City stays in the warm sector, unstable side, gets a line of convection, I could see very gusty winds.
What were the winds?
Yeah,
I mean, these are probably overdone, but the Euro maps are floating around. I think it was on weather.us, something like 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So that sounds overdone, but that's what they're showing verbatim.
This only gives you
Yeah, that's
24
the one.
hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not even going anywhere.
Probably see that for ourselves actually, is what is that traffic?
I mean, it looks like they're over 80 at 850, so I guess if you can mix some of that down, it could be.
You got one of those
Close.
narrow cold frontal rain band type structures with this thing. Sure. I'll take here. Too exciting.
Don't think we get one of those here.
Well, you may see the structure starting to set up, but I don't know if it'll be too much.
We don't deal well with wind here.
Although the
It's not
south,
very impressive.
I've said this before, the north side of these ridges, in a south wind, especially at night, we can gust very strong. Bowlesburg gets that. Pine Grove Mills, Pine Grove Mills gets it. Within a mile of that mountain, you get good downslope winds here. Been gusting to 40 at my place when it's calm here. So that could happen, I suppose. Nearer the ridge you are, the more gusty.
But for the rest of us, life is boring.
Saturday night. Anybody else?
All right.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Next week we'll have Dave, John West, Matt West.
I want to click on this and see. So this won't.